Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture of geomorphology. Today we are going to discuss about the Aeolian landform and their characteristics. Aeolian landform are shaped by the wind. The word Aeolian comes from the Greek word which is Aeolus and that means the god of wind. The Aeolian processes created a number of distinct features through the both by erosion and deposition of the sediment. Aeolian processes are generally associated with the desert, but one thing we should consider that desert are of two types. First one is cold desert and second one is hot desert. Cold desert are the area which is covered with the snow or ice, and hot desert found in the arid region like Sahara. In Aeolian landform, we only consider about the hot desert because in cold desert all area is covered with the snow and where wind is not an agent and Aeolian landform are not created significantly. Before we are going to discuss about the Aeolian landform, we must know about the type of desert. There are mainly four type of desert. First one is erg desert or a sandy desert. Second is rake desert or a stony desert. Third is hamada or rocky desert, and fourth is badlands. Let's discuss one by one. First type of desert are erg desert or a sandy desert. When undulation plain often produced by the wind deposition called as the erg, where we can see sand sea like structure, and because of it is called as the sandy desert. The example of erg or a sandy desert is called is sand sea of the Egypt. Now second type of desert is rake desert or a stony desert, when the surface is covered with the boulder, gravel and angular pebble which have been produced by the diurnal temperature change called as the rake or a stony desert. Here we can see the angular pebble, gravel and boulder also, and such a type of desert is called as the stony desert. The example of stony desert or a rake is rake in Algeria. Now, third type of desert is Hamada desert or a rocky desert. This is the third type. The extensive area of bare rock, which is formed by the fine material, have been removed by the process of deflation, while abrasion polish the smooth surface of the rock is called as the Hamada. Here we see the bare rock, which is formed due to the polish of the abrasion. Now, fourth type of desert is badlands. When the hills are badly eroded by the occasional rainstorm, such a features is called as the badland. It forms the beautiful features of hills. The example of badlands are arid area of South Dakota. Now, before we are going to discuss about the different landform, we must know about how they form and what is the mechanism of erosion behind that. So let's discuss one by one. First mechanism of erosion is deflation. The process of removing, lifting and blowing away of dry and loose particle of sand and dust by the wind is called as the deflation. Let's consider that it is the rock, and when the wind is blowing from here, this loose sand particle or dust is blow away from the host rock. Such a type of deflation or such a type of mechanism of erosion is called as the deflation. The word deflation is come from the Latin word which is the deflatus, and that is meant by the blowing away. Here is the keyword blowing away. The example of deflation is deflation basin. Now, second type of erosion is the abrasion. Abrasion is a work of wind charged with the sand grain as a tool of erosion, which attack the rock and erode them through the mechanism of abrasion, fluting, growing, pitting, and polishing. Let's consider this is a rock, and when the sand is passed on here, which is charged with sand particle, which erode that rock, and such a type of erosion is called as the abrasion. Now, third type of mechanism is attrition. Mechanical tear and wear of the particle support themselves while they are being transported by the wind through the process of saltation and surface creep. It is called as the attrition. Let's consider this is a two large size rock. When they collide or on each other, they form a fine material. Such a type of mechanism is called attrition. It is also called as the mechanical tear and wear of the particles. Now, fourth type of mechanism of erosion is saltation. Saltation involves the movement of sand and gravel through the mechanism of bouncing, jumping and hopping by the turbulent airflow is called as the saltation. Now, let's discuss about the Aeolian landform. Aeolian landform is erosionally or depositionally. Erosional features formed due to the depletion or a abrasion. Due to depletion, depletion basin, Oasis, Deflation Armour, desert lake form, and due to abrasion, Mushroom rock, Inselbergs, Zeugen, Yardangs, natural arc, rock column, Pinnacle, Ventifacts are formed. Aeolian landform also formed due to the deposition of the sand or sediment. The depositional features are dunes, loesses, and ripple mark. And when we consider about the Aeolian landform, we must study about the dunes and different type of dunes like Barchan dune, longitudinal dune, transverse dunes, parabolic dune, and star dune. Now let's discuss about the different landform. First landform are depletion basin. As I already said that depletion means the process of blowing away. Basin are the depression formed in the desert due to the removal of sand through the process of depletion. It's called as the depletion basin. Let's consider this is the area when wind is blowing away from here. They are blowing away the sand particle of this place and form the depression, and such a depression is called as the depletion basin. The depletion basin determine the depth of groundwater table. Now we start discuss about the Aeolian landform which is formed due to the process of abrasion. One of the most famous and important landform of the Aeolian is Mushroom rock. The rock having border upper part and narrow base resemble like an umbrella or a mushroom shape is called as the mushroom rock. It is also called as the pedestal rock or felsen or a gara. It is formed due to the abrasion work of wind. The base of individual block is abrade vigorously from all sides because variable direction of wind and active abrasion limited up to the 6 feet from the ground, while the upper part is least affected by the abrasion. This is about the mushroom rock. Now second type of landform are Inselberg. Inselberg are sharply rising residual hill. This is a keyword here, residual hill. The Inselberg is sharply rising residual hill above the flat surfaces. The rising residual hill above the flat surfaces is called as the Inselberg. It is also called as monadnock here. The characteristics of the Inselberg is a steep slope. We can see here steep slope and rounded top and rounded top. Steep slope and rounded top. Such an individual hill or a mound is relatively resistance rocks in the arid region. This is formed in arid region, also called as the bone hard. Now, Eisenberg is a representative landform of the penultimate stage of the arid cycle of the erosion. According to Elsie King, Eisenberg are formed due to the twin process of scarp retreat and sedimentation over the coarse grain igneous rocks. This is about the Eisenberg. Zeugens. The rock mass of a tabular horizontal forms which is resemble like a capped ink pot standing on the softer pedestal of the shell or mud stone is called as Zeugen. As per the definition, it is a tabular horizontal forms. It is a tabular horizontal form resemble like a capped ink pot. The base of such a feature is broader. Base of such a feature is broader than their top. This is formed due to the diurnal temperature change. These are formed in a desert where the temperature during night is very low. That the moisture in the joints and crevices of the rock is freeze. The frozen moisture again thaw during the daytime. The alternative freeze and thaw of moisture cause the expansion and contraction of a volume respectively. This mechanism caused the disintegration of rock along their joint, and the disintegrated fine material have been blowing away by the wind. The repetition of this mechanism resulted into formation of the Zeugens. Now, next landform are Yardangs. Yardangs are steep-sided, deeply undercut, overhanging rock ridge separated from the another long corridor or long groove or a passageway cut in the desert floor of relatively softer rock. They are in size meters to kilometer. They are formed the alternative band of hard and softer rock which is vertical or inclined to the horizontal plane. As per the definition, it is a steep sided, undercut, undercut, overhanging ridge which is separated by the long grooves or a corridor. They are alternative soft. Here we can see is a harder rock, and this eroded part is softer rock, and that is being eroded by the wind. This is the alternative form of softer and harder rock. It is nearly vertical or inclined to the horizontal plane. It is a vertical to the horizontal plane. The intervening bed of softer rock is abrade and erode the material, blowing away by the process of depletion. The eroded material has been blowing away by the process of depletion, and steep-sided ridge are forms. The most characteristic features of iodines is their parallelism. They are formed due to the direction of the steady wind. This is formed only when the direction of wind is steady. Now, next landform are natural arc. The hole formed due to the continuous abrasive action of the wind on the rock are termed as the wind window. If larger, they are resemble like a arc or a bridge, giving them the name like natural arc or a wind bridge. Here we can see the beautiful landform where hole is formed due to the abrasion of wind on this rock. This landform we can see in the wallpaper of the windows. Next landform are rock column or a pinnacle. When the obstacle is in the form of vertical cliff and it is subjected by undercutting selective abrasion, if the side of cliff is faced wind is well jointed, the block after block is fall downs. With the further abrasion, joint get widen and open up and then form the rock columns. Here we can see obstacle is in the form of vertical cliff and selective abrasion is in the form of well jointed block which is falls down and form the landform which is called as the rock columns. Now we discuss about the pinnacles. Once the rock column is formed, they are subjected to the undercutting of selective abrasion. Due to this, most of columns is toppled downs. However, the some resistance or isolated column is left behind the rock known as the rock pinnacle. Where here we can see the rock column. Only the selective part is resist, and such a resistance rock is called as pinnacles. Next landform are Ventifacts. Loose pebbles are obtained to lying on the sandy desert surface when the such a pebble is subjected to the sand blasting. The surface of pebble is facing the wind direction becomes smooth and develop into facet. The similarity change within the direction of the wind and the position of pebble. The many facet are developed and originating pebble. Such a pebble is showing the many facet are known as the ventifacts. There are mainly three facet. If the one facet is developed, then we call it the equanters. When the two facet is developed, we call it zeuganter, and when the three facet is developed, then we call it the dragonter. Now see here in the diagram, let's consider this is a pebble. When the wind blowing this side, then this side of that pebble is smooth out by the sand blasting and form the facet or smooth surface. And when the due to some due to some wind direction change or a pebble direction change, the another side of the pebble is smoothen out, is form the facet. This is about the ventifacts. Now let's discuss about the depositional feature. We discuss about the three type of depositional features. First one is dune, second is Loess, and third is ripple mark. Now start from the sand dunes. Sand dunes are the asymmetrical mount with a gentle slope in the upwind direction and steep slope called as the slip faces on the downward sides. Let's consider this is the obstacle and sand accumulated here with a gentle slope in upwind direction and steep slope in a downward direction. Such a feature is called as the sand dunes. Now discuss about the dunes migration. Dunes are the asymmetrical features. Sand is eroded from and blowing upwind along the gentle slope of the dune where it piles up at the crust before the avalanching down the steeps called as slip faces. This form the diagonal pattern referred to the cross beddings. Now discuss about the sides of the dunes. If the wind are blowing from this side like west to east, if the windward direction is called as the upwind direction or toss side, and the leeward direction is called as the downward direction or a slip sides. Now discuss about the different type of dunes. First and major important and one of the most famous dunes are the Barchan dunes. The individual dunes of crescent shape with the horn pointing downward. This is the wind direction. This is wind direction. It is a crescent shaped dune. It is a crescent shaped dune with horn pointing in direct downward direction. The Barchan are formed when the wind are normally is unidirectional. This is one of the most important thing. Barchan is formed when only then the direction of the wind is unidirectional and constant direction, and it is right angle to the wind, right angle to the dunes. Now discuss about the longitudinal dunes. Formed parallel to the wind movement, formed by the modification in the shape of the transverse dunes. The huge Aeolian landform existing hundred of kilometers in length. This is the one of the most longest landform or longest dunes, which is called as the longitudinal dunes. If the wind is fastest and move vigorously or violently, it it curve out the channel through the minor hollow and concavity on the leeward is termed as the shelf. Here we can see the concavity or minor hollow is formed, is called as the shelf. It is only occurs in the longitudinal type of dunes, and longitudinal type of dunes is the parallel to the wind direction. This is the wind direction. Now discuss about the third type of dunes, which is a transfer dunes. Transfer dunes are the deposits transferred to the prevailing wind direction. Prevailing wind direction means where the most of the winds is flowing. Let's consider this is, and these dunes are formed transverse to the wind direction. It is also called as the right angle to the wind direction. They are formed due to the ineffective wind blowing. If the effective wind blowing is occur, then the transverseness of this dunes is not formed. They are appear like a wave like feature. Here we can see ocean wave like feature is occur. They are not very common in compositional feature in the extensive desert, because in extensive desert mostly the fast moving or vigorously moving winds are forms. The entire area where the transfer dunes are formed is called as the sand seal. Now, next type of dune is parabolic dune. They are generally developed in the coastal region. This is the keyword here. The parabolic dune is mostly developed in coastal area, and it partially stabilizes in sandy terrain. They are formed usually U shape. They are formed usually U shape. It is always associated with the blowout. Blowout means the hollow which is formed due to the deflation or blowing away of the sand. They are gently windward right, have scooped out hollow formed by the removal of the sand. These hollow have pointed tapering to the windward direction. Smooth scrub are also found in growing on them. Here we can see the small scrubs is growing. This one parabolic dune. Let's discuss once again. Parabolic dunes are majorly formed in the oceanic or coastal region, and U shape. It is U shape and blow associated with the blowouts. Now, star dunes. Star dunes have high central peak. Star dunes have high central peak. Is radiating, extending three or four arms. Here we can see one, two, three, four arms. The effective wind blowing from several wind direction. This is formed due to the wind are flowing in several wind direction. Now, second type of depositional feature is Loesses. Loesses are the example of most significant wind blowing deposit. The Loesses, it is a German term. Loess meaning they are fine, low, loose and unconsolidated material. They represent a thick deposit of unstratified, non-indurated, buff color, well sorted, fine grained sediment consist of quartz and silt. These are the main keywords here. Quartz and silt forms in found in Loesses. Now ripple mark. Ripple mark are the small scale depositional features of sand. These are the wave-like features are formed mainly in the saltation impact. This is formed due to saltation impacts. Saltation impact means the bouncing and jumping of the sediment. This is look like a wave-like structure or features. Ripple mark are divided into two types. First one is transverse ripple mark and second one is longitudinal ripple mark. Transverse ripple mark which is right angle to the wind direction, and longitudinal ripples are which is follow the wind direction or parallel to the wind direction. This is all about the Aeolian landform. Thank you and subscribe the channel GeoTube.